Alright, today's topic is about domain and range. So, we're talking about domain and range, we're talking about points and ordered pairs and things on a graph. So, the first thing I want to mention is when you're talking about domain and range, our domain is the x coordinate on a graph. Alright, so domain is the x coordinate and our range is the y coordinate. Okay. So x and y. So basically, how you would say is that in an ordered pair, as such, remember, ordered pair on a point, x is our first number, y is our second number. Okay, our x would be our domain, our y would be our range. Okay. So if we're looking at that, and there's a few ways you could see this on information displayed. You could see it perhaps in a set of ordered pairs. So if I had an example, if I had this, where I had 5, 4, -2, 1, and 3, -3, right? Right, I had these three, the set of ordered pairs, right? So I'd say, okay, so what is my domain, what is my range of the set? Well, our domain is our x coordinate. So our x coordinates, if we label them right, x, y, x, y, x, y, right? So my domain, if I were to write it, my domain would be 5, -2, and 3, all my x coordinates, and my range would be our y, so 4, 1, and -3, okay? So that's how you would tell on a set of points what domain and what range is. It's pretty simple, right? So you can also display it in a different way. You can display it in a table, okay? So you may see it like this, in a table where you would have the x's on this side, the y's on this side, remember? So yeah, let's give us a couple numbers here. So let's say we have 3, 5, -8, 6, 1, -6, -3, 0, 7, 4, okay? So let's say we have this, right, x and y are displayed. Well, if you asked for what the domain and the range was, once again, our domain would be all of our x coordinates, our range would be all of our y coordinates. So here, you could say our domain, right, or D for short, would be our x coordinates. So 3, 5, -8, 6, and 1. And then our range, -6, -3, 0, 7, and 4. Okay. So once again, so domain, range. It's really simple. Okay. So don't overthink this. All right. The last way, another way you could display this graph is this on an actual graph itself, right? So let's say we had something like this, where you had a coordinate plane, right? And we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? All right. So let's say we had something like this, right? And we had a point right here, and let's say right here, and right here, okay? So let's just do an estimate. I know my graph isn't perfect, okay? Let's do a rough estimate of what these points are, right? So if we look here, we want to do domain and range. Remember, our domains are our x coordinates, right? So remember, this is our x-axis, right? This is our y-axis. So x-axis is anything on this line, y is anything on this line, right? So if I look at my x-axis, right, my domains, at this point here, my x, remember, is on here, so my x would be 1, 2. And because we're going left, it's a -2. So we have a -2 on this point. Look at this point, it's on here on x. So if this is 0, and we go 1, 2, it's at +2 on the x. Remember, not looking at the y, just looking at the x, right? Just left to right. And then here, if this is 2, we go 3, 4, and that's my point here is at 4, okay, of the x. Now, my range, I'm looking at this line, right? So now when I go to this point, I'm not looking here, I'm looking here, my y range. So I go 1, 2, we're at 2 here. This point, I go down 1. So down 1 would be a negative 1, right? And then I point here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 here, okay? So that would be my range and my domain here, right? So if I were to just label this, my point here would be negative 2, 2. My point here would be 2, negative 1, and my point here would be 4, 4. Okay, so negative 2, 2, 4, 2, negative 1, 4. Okay. So that's kind of how that works when you're trying to read points off a graph that way. Okay. Now, what makes a function a function? Okay, so what makes something a set of data, a set of points, a function? Okay, so that's the next thing we need to talk about. I'll rewrite that up here just to kind of remind us our domain is x and our range is y. Okay, so when we talk about functions, what is a function? What is not a function? So it's a pretty simple rule. Okay, a function. Okay, a function, and function, let's say, is when the, I'll write this out for you guys, is when the x coordinates, do not repeat. Okay, do not. So the x coordinates do not repeat. Okay, and I'll show you what that means in a second here. But the y coordinates can. Okay, so what does this mean? Okay, what does it mean the x do not repeat but the y's can? Okay, so let's give you an example. Okay, let's say I have a set of points, a set of data, right? And I say I have a data that's, let's see, oops, let's go 2, 5, 5, 7, 3, negative 1, and 6, 5, okay? So let's look at this, okay? So what's my domain and range? Okay, remember domain is x, range is y. So my domain, right, I have 2, so D, 2, 5, 3, and 6, and my range here is 5, 7, negative 1, and 5. Okay, so remember, for a function to work, the x's cannot repeat. So my domain cannot have any repeating numbers in it. Okay, so if you look here, my domain is 2, 5, 3, and 6. Any repeating numbers? No. So yes. Function. Okay. Now look at my y's. My y's do repeat. I have a 5 here and a 5 here, right? But that's okay. Okay, that's okay for my y's to repeat. I just can't have my x's repeat. Okay. With my y's repeating, yes, that's fine. Okay. Now let's change it up here and show you an example of what isn't a function. Let's say you have points that are, let's go 5, 6, 7, 10, 5, 3, and 9, 12, okay? Now once again, what's my domain? My x is 5, 7, 5, 9, my range 6, 10, 3, and 12, right? So when I look here in my domain, my x's, I have a 5 and a 5. I have 2 5s, okay? So because I have 2 5s here in my domain, no, not a function, not function, okay? Because I have my 5s here, my x's repeat, okay? So that's what I mean by that, okay? So this is not a function because my x's repeat. All right. Now to show you, let's take a look at that. How that would look on a graph. Let's say we have a graph here, right? All right. And let's say we have a point here and here, 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 and let's go here. Okay. So if I look at these points, right? When you look at the points, you want to see where your x's repeat. The easy way to tell this, if your x's repeat, is just to look. Remember, this is my x, this is my y, right? So so my x's cannot be on the same line here. Okay, basically they can't be above each other. All right. So in this case, if I go and look at all my points, right, and just kind of draw like a little dot line between them, right? None of the points line up and down from each other, right? So yes, function, right? None of my x's repeat. This x is at here, 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 and here. They're all at different x points, right? So that's why it's a function. If I were to draw another one, okay, okay, and I have a point here, 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 and here, okay. If I look, my first 2 points here, they're on the same xy, right? -3 here, they're on the same, right? It's the same going down, right? So because of that, that makes it not a function, okay? Because it can't have on the same line that way, all right? All right, one more example, and we're done. Sometimes I may give you 2 points here, or 2 sets where they'll be like, okay, so we have -7, -5, 0, 1, 5, 10, 14, and that'll be all like this, and then they'll have another one over here that'll be like -11, 1, 4, 5, 17, right? Okay, so let's draw some arrows, right? Let's say that goes here, that goes here. Just follow along with me here. That's fine. That goes there. Also goes there. That goes there. And, that goes down here. Okay. So if you look here, right, this is my x, this is my y. All right. So if this is my x coordinate, this is my y coordinate, all the x's match up with the y over here, right? So my -7 follows the line, goes down to my 17, right? My -5 goes to my -11. My 0 kind of hangs out by itself. My 1 goes to 4. My 5 goes to 4. 10 to 5, 14 to 17, okay? So if you see something like this, what you want to do is to see if any of these points have 2 lines coming from it, okay? If they have 2 lines coming from it, it's not a function. But here, every point has only 1 line coming from it, so yes, function. Okay. Now, if we were to switch some of that up, let's get rid of this line here, okay? Let's make this real simple, all right? And let's draw the 7 going here to 1. Now we have here, my -7 has a line going here and a line going down here, which means there's 2 x's, which means because of this is no, not function. Okay. So that's pretty much the gist of domain and range.